and hello, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the Good Life Show International. This is Beverly Fells Jones, and I am an internationally known author, speaker, authority on memory, and practitioner for the Silver Method and the Prime Directive. What is the Good Life Show? Well, it's not about the rich and famous, but about the ordinary and the extraordinary people who are living their dream. On this show, we will work to present a variety of topics dealing with everyday living and leisure activities by interviewing people who are knowledgeable in the subject presented. I would love for you to join me each episode so that you may find the catalyst to bring your dreams into reality. You can do that best by clicking on the subscribe button and hitting that little bell so that you will be notified each time I have a new, interesting guest for you to see and hear. So please subscribe. And if you really like the show, hit that thumbs up button. It always makes me feel good. And make comments at the bottom, and I'll try to answer you as quickly as possible. And by hitting that little bell, you won't miss any episodes. So, in this episode, it is my pleasure to bring you Doreen Milano. Now, this episode actually was recorded, but it wasn't planned to be an interview. Doreen and I couldn't figure out a time to get together, and so we just decided to meet online. And as we were talking, I realized this was a perfect interview. Now, this time, I have no makeup on, I'm not dressed, so I am just being my normal self. So, guys, I didn't even set up the camera for an interview, but it was going so awesome, I just decided that I would use it as an interview. So, let me tell you a little bit about Doreen. She spent her youth in the family business learning all the intricacies of making profitable entities. By the age of 18, she was running 3 dealerships. 5 years later, she was working as a business manager in small and medium-sized corporations. Over time, Doreen has served as the Vice President of Finance for the San Jose chapter of NARI, CEO of 4 corporations, served in the capacity of controller for a Fortune 500 company. Under Doreen's expertise, several corporations which had taken losses in excess of 7 figures, she turned around the results to over 6 figures in profits in less than 15 months. The corporations Doreen has worked with, either for or with, have realized revenues anywhere from a few $100,000 to over $500 million. She has held the position of comptroller for as many as 6 divisions. Well, since walking away from corporate America, she founded her organization called Visions to Excellence in 2010. And she became a graduate of an organization called CEO Space in December of 2010. She attained her coaching certification that same year, and her certification in a thing called neuro-linguistic programming in March 2012, and it became a certified sales trainer with bank methodology in 2015. So she went and got a lot of education. Visions to Excellence was created to serve small and mid-market businesses. Her mission is to bring energy, focus, and creativity along with the most cutting-edge tools and systems needed to grow business, drive profits, and achieve her clients' dreams and ambitions. So she works with the culture and the value aspects of the business, and this helps create incredible results. And for her clients, she goes beyond achieving great results. She goes for my favorite word, extraordinary outcomes. So have a listen. We're cutting in the middle of our one-to-one, our conversation. and that we will cut out a little later. But I want you to enjoy this interview and please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. So I got a little bit about how you got started in your career. And so at the meeting, just remind me a little bit. So you worked for companies for a long time, is my understanding. And just
very large companies.
so did you start out in these positions, or what did you start out deciding you wanted to do?
Well, I grew up in a large Italian family, and everybody in the family was an entrepreneur. They all had their own businesses. So when you're a kid in that kind of environment, you go to work early. You're free labor, and they are not afraid to use free labor to get the job done.
Okay.
So I remember, counting Coke bottles for my grandfather when I was like 6, so that he knew how many empty Coke bottles he had from, his business, so he knew how much he needed to order to replenish the supply.
Okay.
So, I mean, you start doing those kinds of things when you're very young in that type of environment. By the time I was 18, I was running 3 corporations until the family decided to sell those corporations. When they sold the corporations, I moved on, utilizing the skill set that I have, which was quite varied. It was in management, it was in leadership, it was in understanding how businesses work, making them more profitable, understanding the role sales held within the businesses, because you're not in business unless you're making sales. So you need to be able to understand the process of sales.
Okay.
You have to understand that when you sell something, then you've got to execute and fulfill
what you sold.
What you sold,
Yeah.
right? So understanding all those pieces, because when, you start working at 6 years old, and then as businesses become more complex, you're growing into those different roles. So I've held every single role possible in a business.
Okay.
From ordering inventory, replenishing inventory, selling product, selling services, selling, retail, selling wholesale, accounting, payroll, back office support, technical support within the office, understanding what has to happen, merchandising, advertising, marketing. So before I was 18, I was given all these different roles to fulfill and learn them from the ground up.
Now, initially, as you were learning this, was it the family had the idea that you would be the one to take over, or it was just it just happened?
The job needed to be done. You're here, you're breathing, do it.
Okay. All right. So what business was your family in?
My great-grandmother was a flower grower. She had 10 acres of hothouse carnations. My grandmother owned 37 properties in San Francisco, including office buildings. She owned a motel. And my grandfather, her husband, owned Daly City Lime and Cement. He was a contractor. And my father owned 3 motorcycle dealerships and an import-export racing house. So when you had free time, you were not getting into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You were working.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's how it got started.
Okay.
So when the family decided to sell the businesses, I went to work in corporate America.
All right. So who'd you go to work for?
I went to work for um, small automotive corporations
Okay.
to start with. And then I went to work for more robust companies, Fortune 500 companies, then Fortune 100 companies, found that I was able to do corporate turnaround, take businesses that were losing money and making them profitable.
Okay.
So I was used in that capacity for a number of years. It's pretty thankless work.
So they would bring you in um, to either make them profitable or to break them up. Yes, no, or
Well, you have to restructure the organization to get it to a point of either break even or profitability.
okay.
If you were able to get to profitability, you got it to profitability so they could sell the corporation.
All right.
Right?
Okay.
They have to recoup their assets somehow.
Right. Right.
And just having it be profitable is not going to recoup their asset quick enough. So if they sell it at a profit, as a profit center,
Mm-hmm.
they get more money. They're able to recoup their losses much quicker.
Okay.
So knowing going in that I was going to go in, make it profitable so it could be sold
Okay.
was
So
the
you,
goal.
so you had to make some pretty tough decisions
Oh yeah,
when you
always.
were doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you find that it was stressful, or was it, I mean, there's got to be some stress there, but was it
There's always,
enjoyable, or, some people, they find their joy in these kinds of things. The fact that they're digging in, making the restructure, it's like, yes, this is heaven for me. And other people, they may say, okay, I enjoy this part, but I don't on this. What about you?
so where where I work best is when I understand what the cause is, what the end benefit is going to be,
Hmm.
and getting to that end benefit. I'm more of a vision person.
Okay.
So yes, I can do this work. I can go out and do that. The grunt part of it is not pleasant. And that's where the stress comes in.
I think most of us, the grunt part is,
It's not pleasant.
mm-mm.
So the grunt part is when you're laying off entire departments, you're firing people, you're doing the restructure because the owner had some kind of deficit in how they were looking at where the business needed to go.
Hmm.
And they used short-term thinking instead of long-term thinking to build the platform. And unfortunately, their human assets were not the ones suited to build the platform to make it profitable,
Okay.
right? So you have to let go of those assets. And, I'm a people person, so letting go, firing people is never pleasant. But I look at it from the perspective of, while I find it unpleasant and you find it even more unpleasant, the reality is that this change will allow you to blossom into the job that really suits you.
Hmm.
And what suits you is something bigger than what the game you've been playing here.
Okay. Okay. When you're looking at that turnaround or making those decisions, do you have a team that works with you, or you bring in a team, or you make
I have to
use of the
develop a
assets that are there, or what?
I have to develop a team. Sometimes it's making use of the assets. Sometimes it's bringing people from the outside. It's just, you never know.
Okay.
So after I get to a point after doing it for probably about 25 years that I was done. I didn't want to do the corporate turnarounds anymore.
Okay.
While there's a great deal of satisfaction in getting to the cause, right? It wasn't fulfilling enough. And many times in doing these large corporate turnarounds where, there's 350 employees and there's, it's a big mechanism that you're working with, you are working 18 to 20 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a life.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
So about the time that 25-year hit, I looked at what was going on around me in the economy, and California had it really bad, which is where I lived. And unemployment rate was like 45% at one point. And corporations were laying off massive amounts of people. People were hanging their shingles and taking whatever they were technically great at and starting businesses. And just as quickly, within 6 months or so, they were going out of business. And I said, I can stop that. I have a skill set that will change that.
Okay.
So that's when I created Visions to Excellence, and I started working for myself.
Okay. All right. So what is your ideal business client that you help?
Service-based businesses.
Okay.
I prefer not to do retail because retail is going through a massive shift. And what I believe is going to happen in that massive shift is that retail's going away as we know it now.
Okay.
You're going to get online and you're going to order whatever you need to order from Amazon or some other online portal. You will go to a center to look at, material selections and that kind of thing. But then when you go to buy it, you're not going to buy it from the material center. You're going to go online and buy it.
And pick it up. But you'll have, in a lot of things, you'll still have a place to go to see the item. Because one of the things I've found is that I'll order something, especially clothing, and it's not what it looks like on the screen, and I wind up sending it back, or your size. Every company's sizes are different, so clothing is one thing, but commodities like I just ordered a new fan for my computer because my fan is acting up. I mean, it's working, but it's noisy. So I got that, and I plan to replace it, but I'm a computer geek, so I can do that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I'd have to go to,
you call, the Geek Squad.
Right.
You call somebody else.
Right.
To drop off your computer to take
care of it, but they keep it for a while.
Right.
So I know I'm getting off topic here, but the idea being is like a lot of stores now are having pickup. I can order online at Walmart and then pull up, give them my number, and they'll put it in my car. Or I think Kroger's is trying that. Amazon is looking to do grocery delivery. I don't know where that stands, but yeah, a lot of stuff is going to be order online and either pick it up or have it delivered. But I'd still in my mind say there's still going to be some big box stores, because there's some things that we don't order online because we want to touch it, feel it, see it before it arrives.
I think you'll have material centers.
Okay.
And I think it's, iMagnet that is going to that you will not have an iMagnet with all the different choices. You'll have an iMagnet with a whole bunch of computers, and you're going to want to see that material selection. And they'll call it up, and you can feel the material, see the color, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You'll place your order online and it will be shipped to you.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea of it's like my books, they're print on demand. So I remember, I don't know if you remember, you probably do. I used to go to the car dealership and order my car. pick all the options and then order it and expect it not to show up for 6 to 8 weeks because it was being built for me.
Right.
Then they changed to
Right.
the, I will put everything in it and send it to the dealer and you buy off the lot. I don't even know if you can order other
You
than
can.
maybe Tesla.
No, you can.
You
You
can.
still can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everything is off the lot. It's like, okay. So you like service-based businesses. What do you find is the one thing most service-based businesses have that they have issue with? Their biggest challenge.
I think the biggest challenge, there are several, but the one that they can articulate is that they don't have enough time.
Okay. And what does that mean a lot of times?
That means that they're not ever working on their business, they're just working in their business.
Okay.
And because they're not working on their business, they are not connecting appropriately with their core values. They're not articulating their core values. They're not pulling together their UVP. They're not communicating their UVP. Therefore, they are not connecting with their client base in a deep and meaningful way.
Okay. Define UVP for me.
Their unique value proposition.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, one of the things I know is that a lot of small business people market, get a lot of clients, and they work those clients, and then they stop marketing. And then they have to, as those clients, they take care of them, they got to market, and do. It's not a continuous marketing program while they're dealing with their clients.
Well, and that's part of the bigger problem, is that they're not marketing to their ideal client ever.
Okay.
Because they don't understand what their UVP is. They don't understand how that UVP services their client. So they're not looking for that specific client their UVP takes care of.
Okay. All right. So you help them discover that, or help them live toward it, help them discover it,
right.
Help them really truly define who their ideal client is, and what their vision or their business really looks like, as one of those things that they need to do. Okay.
Many times they do not have their foundation for their business clearly built.
Okay.
They did a business plan way back when, right? Because somebody said, you need a business plan. So they went online, they figured out what a business plan is, they filled out all the information, they did, a 20, 30, 40, 50-page business plan way back when. Come to find out that now today, 5, 6, 7 years later, they're not doing the same thing, and they never redid their business plan because that was a lot of work. It took them a week or 2 weeks to do, and they don't have the week or 2 weeks available in their time slot to redo those things. So they're marketing based on the old business plan, based on old client base, based on the old deliverables that they were doing.
Okay.
That's how they're marketing, which is why then it becomes a numbers game, because they need lots and lots and lots and lots of leads to find one that now fits their new market.
Right. And life becomes a lot easier when you understand, as you call it, the UVP, you understand what your market is and who you're marketing to. Because now your time and energy, I'm summarizing this a little bit.
Yeah, you're paraphrasing. Yeah.
Your time and energy in the funnel, which is what I want to call it right now, to get
Right.
you right to where you need to be. And
Hmm.
now you're not working quite as hard. Your marketing time and dollars are well spent. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So as a business owner, as you know, your number one goal is sales.
Yes.
Your number two goal is keeping your cost as low as possible. Your number three goal is having money left to grow the business, live on, invest, plan for retirement, whatever it is that you need that money left over to do by the time you get done with sales and your costs,
Mhm.
put
Yeah.
very simply.
Yes.
What I help with is having them understand that there is financial statement leakage, that if you're not looking at your numbers, if you're not playing to a set of metrics that you have to fulfill, you're never going to get there.
Okay.
You will have financial statement leakage, you will have balance sheet leakage, you will have other things that will take over the profitability. Many, many, many businesses say, hey, there's money left in the bank. I could spend this much,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Money
There's,
at the end of the month. Yes.
there's
Mm-hmm.
money at the end of the month. Oh, I could go and I can buy a new car,
Uh-huh.
or I can go on vacation, or I can
Oh.
do this, or I can do that, or I can
Mm-hmm.
do something else, right? The first consideration needs to be, what does the business need next to make sure that there's money left over next month,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and the month after that, and the month after that.
So
You know,
a lot of it's well, to me, it's well, people don't budget their lives anyway. I mean, their homes or they
yeah,
don't budget it. It's just the money goes out. So it's the same concept. In you need to if you need to budget in your home, there are certain expenses that have to go out, and then there's discretionary expenses, and then there's the I can have some fun expenses or
right,
there, or and then there's the savings and all of that kind of stuff. And one of my philosophies is that I take the savings out first and deal
yeah,
with everything else. I've done well. That was kind of my mother trained me after I got my first job. She took me to the bank, opened my bank account and the savings account. She said,
right,
no matter what, you take at that time, take $25 and put it in the bank account every pay, right? And
right,
so she started me out on that, and that should also be true, like with a business. In a
mm-hmm.
sense, it's a lot of businesses aren't taking money out for R&D now,
Right,
research and development. So I remember, well, I worked for IBM for 29 years, and they had the largest R&D department
of anybody.
everywhere, right? And now
At the
today, I
time, they
doubt if
were
that
the biggest.
exists, right? And so
It does.
looking forward,
It looks different now.
yeah,
But the bottom line is that there are 4 cycles of business, and I don't care what kind of business you're in. You got 4 cycles.
okay,
You got the startup cycle. You've got the growth cycle. You got the maintenance cycle, which is a flat line where you're not getting more business, but you're not losing any. Your sales are pretty rock steady,
okay,
right? That process can only last 3 to 5 years.
okay. And then either you are going downhill or you're going,
You're going downhill.
okay.
There's no other ways.
Okay. Even if
Okay.
you're okay, so you go into maintenance for a little while, but can't you work it so that you go back into build mode or
That's where your R&D comes in. That's why
okay.
IBM had such a large R&D department,
yes.
because they knew that their death was in that maintenance cycle.
Right. And they needed something new or updated
and
or
innovative,
upgraded.
yes,
Yes.
before they got into that cycle.
So how does the service business do their R&D?
It's the same deal. You have to be innovative. You have to have those deep, meaningful conversations with your client base to figure out what your client base needs next.
Okay.
And then you've got to figure out whether you're the person or your team is the person. I mean, there's some very large service-based businesses. There's a lot of solopreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to figure out as the owner whether fulfilling that need is what you need to be doing, or you
Okay.
need to keep digging to find out what need you're best suited to fulfill.
All right. Well,
How you have to package it differently.
okay. That is, and for a lot of small businesses, it's a struggle, and especially for solopreneurs, because they've got to I have to carry a lot of different hats, or we bring somebody in like you that can help define that and help, what I want to say, help us make the hard choices that we may have to make, because sometimes we have to choose to say, I got to step away from this piece of my business right now because it's not serving me, or the niche is really small. Of course, some people do well in tiny niches,
Right.
but maybe that's not the one for
Only
me.
for a period of time, though.
Yeah. And
Only
then
for a period of time.
we got to move to some other thing. So you help them make that discovery when you come in. You help them with
Right.
some of those things, as well as their processes and those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Do you do the work to identify it? But as far as some of the particular things that client may need to have done, you have people that you can refer them to if they need to, have
Rebuild their
some rebuild
website,
that. Yes.
or to redo their logo, because all of a sudden they're finding that the logo and the message from the old business is not going to translate well to the newer generation, for
Okay.
example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? That means that maybe you've grown as an individual, you've grown as a business, and you figured out that, hey, ripping down buildings isn't what I want to be doing anymore.
Okay.
Right? Instead, I want to renovate buildings, or I need to repurpose buildings. So if you're going to go from being a demolition expert to being a repurpose expert, your logo may have to change.
Mm-hmm.
The values that your company stands for may have to change. Right?
Yeah. Your vision statement, your mission statement, all of that may have to change.
Have to change.
Too. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So, I mean, there are points of time, especially for the older workforce, that we just get tired of doing what we're doing and we need to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's
Right?
what I wound up doing. I got out of doing computer stuff. I was a debugger and trainer, and I got tired. I mean, I had a friend that says, "Oh, Bev, you should take the security exam so that you can," and I looked at it and I said, "I don't want to do that anymore." Yeah, and just said no. Yeah, the dollars were good, but I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that, and instead of struggling through and going through and teaching that stuff, I just said no. So sometimes, yeah, we make a change. The idea that people coming up now are doing multiple careers is this idea. What do you see as far as that's concerned?
I think that if you have a career working for a company, you need to do something where you're working for yourself as well.
Okay.
The company's not going to take care of you as well as you will be able to take care of you.
Right.
We are slowly moving into what is called a gig economy. It is really healthy in a lot of different ways. You know, I hear from clients all the time, you know, it's really hard to work with millennials. And I look at them and I say, you created this.
Okay.
And they look at me and they say, what do you mean I created this? And I said, you raised your kids and you introduced them to video games.
Mm-hmm.
You introduced them to fast-paced now reactions.
Yes.
Right? You were busy. You were not home all the time. So they had to become independent and take care of themselves. And now you're bitching about it. Because what comes out of that is that they constantly have to be stimulated. They constantly have to be doing something. They constantly have to be moving forward. They have a really short attention span.
Yes.
Unless they're fully engaged in whatever they're doing. We, the older generation, we created that. And we need to own that we created that.
Created that, yes. Or the I want it now.
We created that.
We created that, yes. No waiting, no patience, no,
yeah.
You know.
We created that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That means that as a company, you have to be willing to dig deeper, have a cause, have something that can fully engage the employee, have a way for them to be able to connect to doing it for themselves.
Okay.
Right? And if you're not willing to dig deep and have the cause and have that piece that would fulfill that monster that we created, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and the idea of, they are so, well, I mean, I've gotten to that point sometimes, but now I pick up the phone, or because texting and you know, that whole area, it's like you've got to learn a new language because, you know, emails or texts can convey one meaning to me as I send it out, and then you receive it and it means something totally
where the
different.
hell is her head at?
Right. Why is she talking to me like this? Right. What is yeah. So it's so there's that also that whole conversation about texting is quick, but I need to get on the phone with you to fully understand where you're coming from, or fully understand what I desire.
Correct.
And I think a lot of places are kind of forcing that a little bit. I mean, you know, yes, the idea of, you know, web-based conversation works because we can talk face to face even though we're not in the same room.
Well, if you work for Fortune 100 companies, your CFO, CEO, CTO, COO, I used to get text messages at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was expected to answer.
Mm-hmm. Because they were up, you were supposed to be up.
Well, yeah, and because of the position I held within those companies, not only was I supposed to be up, but I had the information they needed before they could start their day at 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was on a different coast than they were.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm looking at it as 2 o'clock in the morning. They're at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're sitting in the gym on their bike, and they're, you know, texting me, and I'm going, oh, okay, fine, whatever. But you have, you know, we've created these monsters.
Yes. Yes. But in reality, a lot of those monsters already existed, um, but in a different way.
Yes,
The A personality has been there forever,
ever.
and and A personalities work in a different way, and then if you get a super A, because I know I've met some super A's. And well, see, and that's why you could be and do what you do,
Hmm.
in that realm. So here's my next question for you. What do you love to do in your downtime?
Oh, in my downtime, I sew, I
Okay.
cook, I'm creative, I swim, I walk my dog, I spend time with my husband.
So what do you like to sew?
I also quilt, sew clothes. I mean, whatever inspires me.
Inspires you? Yeah, I
Yeah.
just
So
I went to the Dallas Quilt Show on Friday. It was this past weekend. And my
I was
daughter.
going to go, and we were still unpacking, and I said, "Okay, I'm not going to go jump down that rabbit hole today."
Well, I managed to walk out of there not buying anything, but I went. My daughter competes. She puts her quilts in every year, and I used to put in a quilt. In fact, I'm looking at a couple of my quilts that I got ribbons on. They're hanging up there. But so that's nice to know a fellow quilter.
Yep.
What is your favorite food you like to cook?
Well, I'm vegan now,
Okay,
so I still like making Italian food,
okay, but in
and
a vegan manner.
yeah, it's just more challenging.
Yes. Well, to me, the vegan is what? No meat, no
No meat,
meat,
no
no
dairy,
dairy, right?
no
No
fish, no
eggs.
fowl, no eggs,
Uh-huh. All right. So
and
it'll
no
be a
nothing.
marinara sauce without without meat. You can do. Oh, you can't. Oh no, you can't do that because that's cheese. They've got
They have vegan stuff.
eggplant.
Yeah,
I've had the eggplant lasagna.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, you just have to be more creative.
Yes.
You got to throw what you knew out
Yes. Yes. Well,
and
I'm
start
not.
with a fresh palette.
So I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I do the ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting. So I usually eat one meal a day, sometimes two, depending on if I wind up eating early in the day. But
Mm-hmm.
that's where I went, and those are two separate spectrum, and it's like the big argument online about which is which. But okay, so but yeah, that's good. How long you been vegan?
Couple of years.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so you've learned new recipes and new ways of doing things and
Yeah,
making choices when you go to corporate dinners or,
yeah.
or out.
Like I
So
walked in
good.
and I said, "Just give me the salad, lose the cheese. I'm not eating."
Yes, yes, very good. All right. Well, let's see. So you moved here from California? Yes,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
all right. And what brought you to Texas? The kids or
My husband,
your husband? Okay. All
yeah,
right. Well, good.
he got
Good.
transferred out here.
All right. Well, fantastic. All right. So here's what So thank you for joining us today. That was a quick cut off, but that's when I started telling her that I was going to use our one-to-one as an interview. So join us again for our next show. So in order to be notified when that's coming up, you need to subscribe. I've got an awesome lady coming up soon. Her name is Dawn, and I'm not going to tell you what she is. Well, I'll tell you. She's the toolbox maven, and that's all I'm going to tell you for now. So thank you for listening to the Good Life Show International.